Hi, my name is Beau, and I really like to study NES games. It's a hobby of mine. I'm just like this guy. I'm like, oh my god, these are so interesting. They can tell us so much about where we're at in the indie scene right now, and I think it pays to look back. And a while ago, I studied all the old gamography of HAL Laboratory. So HAL, I'm sure you all know, are probably most popular for Kirby and Smash Brothers. And there's one game of theirs in particular that gave me all these ideas about like character and emotional resonance. And that game is Adventures of Lolo. I don't know, who's familiar? All right, cool. So the first thing this game does great right off the bat is establishing an environment. Look at those beautiful blue clouds. You're just like, oh, it's gorgeous. And then you've got, not only do they do that, but they establish a character on the first screen too. And that guy's just raring to go solve some puzzles. So you press start, and then you've got this gorgeous golf course meadow, and you've got these amazing clouds moving by. And I imagine those are the same clouds we're just looking at the title screen. So you've got this continuity, and that's really nice. You really want this place to make an impression, because you're never gonna see it again. This is a brown puzzle box from here to the end. So you really want to make sure that your player is picturing that beautiful meadow beyond these four walls. You might be asking yourself, Beau, what does this have to do with character? Well, in order to empathize with our characters, we need to believe in their world. So now we believe in a world where there's a stack of brown puzzle boxes surrounded by this beautiful green meadow, and we can move on. So after you've established an environment, it's time to build empathy between the player and the protagonist. And this game does this in a few ways. I mean, there's a few ways to do this in all games. So listen up. The first and simplest way to do this is to have the character react to input, as we all know. And what this does is this creates empathy through identity. This is the same as saying, like, oh, that's me. And then another way to do this is to have the character react to the game state. And this can be any change or interaction in the game. And what this does is this creates empathy through emotional resonance, which is the same as saying, oh, I felt that before, like what he's feeling. I remember those memories of losing and running out of time and going, ugh. Sorry. So when you do this, when you have the character react, you either want their reaction to say something about the character's personality, or better yet, mirror the player's feelings. This is super important. So this creates empathy through emotional synchrony, which is the same as saying, oh, that's how I feel right now. And this is the most valuable thing you can do. But it's also the most difficult because we're all different. So there's no perfect game out there where it's always like reacting to how you're feeling, because that would be your favorite game and you'd never play anything else. And so here's us building empathy. So now that we've established a player and character empathy, the next thing you want to do is establish character-to-character empathy. And Lolo does this in a few ways. First of all, look at these worm guys. They look at you. And when you have something look at you, that's like the same as, they're acknowledging your existence. They're like, oh, I exist, you exist, this is pretty great. This is awesome. And the other thing I really like about this game is most of the enemies in this game are non-violent. And that's important because what that says is they basically have something better to do than to kill you. I imagine this guy probably reads Dickens in his free time or something. Yeah. And, okay, these guys are great. All right, so these guys, they just want to take a nap. They just run at you, and you run away, they will chase you. It's like chasing a pillow around the room for them or something. They're just like, I imagine Lolo's probably very soft, and they're just like, I need to take a nap, come here. So that normally wouldn't be a problem, just wanting to take a nap. But in this game, you have to go around and collect all these heart frames. And when you do that, you unlock the jewel box at the top. And what happens when you collect all the heart frames in the room is everybody starts to do this panic wiggle. Like, oh no, this is not good. And I imagine they're very scared because when you do finally collect that jewel, everyone turns to dust. So, I think this game has some missed opportunities where it could build empathy. Namely, this situation. Like, I'm sure, like, I would have a reaction to this if I was in a room and then everybody just poofed into dust. And I'm sure, like, probably the player does as well. So I would either like to see Lolo, like, make a reaction, like, to his character, like, oh, I didn't expect that. Like, I was just trying to rescue my girlfriend in this tower. Or maybe he's like, yeah, I did it. Just something, right? He's just, that's all right. That's fine. I expected that. So what else I'd like to see is more like character world interaction. Now, a lot of people may chalk this up to senseless polish, but I think that things like pushing grass or cutting grass and scaring away wildlife does a lot to help, enforce the reality of the world. And as we know, if you believe in the world, you'll believe in the characters. And if you believe in the characters, you'll empathize with them. And if you empathize with the characters, then you'll keep playing. And hopefully your game is not like wasting people's time, like a mobile game or something. They're not all bad. You know what I mean. All right. So basically, the more connections like this, the more connections you make, but in this wash and dry cycle of mutual empathy, the better. And you might think this is it, but there's even one more thing you can do. And that's when you have your protagonist build empathy with other worlds. When you have your characters move out of their own world into other worlds, they have to go somewhere in between, right? So maybe that makes them a little more real. Thank you.